legacy. What a great day it is. First, I want to thank Dr. King. I'd like to thank the ML King Committee for putting the pressure on me to be here today. I'd like to thank my neighbor who lives across the, a cabbage field or something? My neighbor Evangelist Coleman, for agreeing to preside for you here today. And also, I'd like to thank Sister Zanita, my cousin Zanita Whipple, for being here today. They are both phenomenal women. And we are St. Johns County strong, straight up.
Yeah. All right. Here, here.
Cabbages and potatoes.
Cabbage patch.
He ran that area over there in town. Okay, I'm humbled to be here before you today as we honor Dr. King. I would like to re-emphasize to you, and I'll be talking like I'm talking to my students. I'd like to re-emphasize to you, because as the students say, you already know, y'all know, you already know how our Father, the Son, and the King loved. We know this already. From the words of Dr. King as he prepared to march, I am happy to join with you today in what would go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. This year's theme is I have decided to stick with love.
Amen.
Hate is too great a burden to bear.
Amen.
So many of you all were asking, now why is Cynthia here? As Dr. James of Palm Coast would say, well, I'm glad you asked. Firstly, I'll be short, I'll be to the point, and I'll close with a challenge to you. I have been granted the opportunity to see further. I can see further. And it's not because I had LASIK 10 years ago.
All right.
But it's by standing on the shoulders of giants like the class of 68, 69, 70, and 71 who came back to join with us in this year's Silent March. I am grateful that this little migrant worker girl from Hastings was afforded the opportunity to pursue an education. Do you want to impact our community? Yes. Do you want to reduce crime? Yes. I've got an answer for you. Help a young person, or anyone for that matter, to get an education beyond high school.
Yes. All right.
You own a business? Help a child get a job.
Come on now. Yeah.
You want to lead us in the right direction? Help us to have a career. I can definitely say that having a job at an early age certainly established for me a desire to do better. I am grateful for the village that helped to mold and direct my path in a positive way in order that I might march hand in hand to work each day with our students. And I see my students standing all out there. Thank you. Shout out to St. John's Technical High School, virtual school. The #2 school in the state of Florida on alternative radio. Where their principal was the first African American to host as the St. Johns County School District Teacher of the Year. And where God has blessed me and afforded my colleagues the opportunity to say, we want her to represent us as the Principal of the Year for St. Johns County. Thank you and praise God. God gets all the glory here today. I can tell you what else we need if we have city officials and county officials here. We need a county-wide initiative to employ young boys and young girls as soon as they are eligible to work. Give them something to do. Give them something to do. Particularly our students who are living in poverty. You see, while at the schoolhouse, I can talk about careers to our students, but sometimes that goes unheard. It's like, she's just talking, oh, I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, and they're not really understanding what all of that means. But you can help employ our students, because once they get a taste of a paycheck,
Come on now.
then they begin to understand dress code, pull your pants up,
Come on now.
being polite,
Yeah.
and grooming your hair.
All
You
right.
see, money talks better than I do sometimes. Money sticks. Now, I am not a minister,
Come on now.
so I might do this a little bit out of order. Today, I want to start by taking it to the cross. We in the Baptist church, we closed in the cross.
All right now. All right.
You see, during Dr. King's era, crosses were burned as a symbol to represent racism, social injustice, hate, and inequality. Today, I just want to tell you about a couple marches as you reminisce about your march here today. People here in St. Augustine, black and white, were not treated very nicely during the marches. But despite that treatment, love and peace became the center. It was Jesus who marched and carried the cross. The cross that Jesus bore represents forgiveness,
Come on now.
charity, and love. Now, I know I'm going to talk about my age here, but Estelle Getty of the Golden Girls would say, picture this, 1968. Dr. King marched all day and night for peace, being the model of nonviolence, to get a message of civil rights for all people, no matter their race or religion. He was in prison. He was hit, but he got up.
Come on now.
He was spat upon and kicked, but he got up. He was stabbed, and on that day, he stood on the balcony of the Lorraine Hotel. He wasn't worried.
Come on now.
As shots rang out, he had just stated that mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Dr. King said he wanted to be remembered for loving others. How do you want to be remembered? And in a similar story, while on this earthly journey, Jesus was imprisoned.
Come on now.
He carried the cross. He received an unfair trial. He was whipped all night long, kicked, spat upon, and nailed to the cross.
Come on now.
And on that third day, he got up too. He got up with all power in his hand. And by far has had the single most impression for love and forgiveness on this earth. Did you hear that earlier with Dr. King? It was a movement of love, just as Dr. King rekindled the movement for love and peace. The cross that Jesus marched to Calvary represents forgiveness, charity, and love. Do you see the similarity? But today, for me, crosses, they don't represent the burning crosses. They represent for me God's love for us, as bad as we were to his son. And as the son hung on the cross, he asked the Father, as we need to do, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Amen.
Some of us ought to recite that sometime.